Gems on the Road. History under the magnifying glass. Hello, I am Diane Benoit. Welcome to Gems on the Road. Today we are going to dive very deep. We will immerse ourselves in a story full of mystery, luxury, and fascination. We are going to discover the most famous pearl in history, La Peregrina. We will trace its incredible journey from when it was discovered in the 16th century until its arrival at one of the most iconic auctions of the modern era. And you may wonder, what is so special about a pearl? Well, those small spherical drops of light have captivated humanity for centuries. Their history is not only full of beauty, but also of secrets, power, and even romance. So prepare yourselves, because this is a story as seductive as the pearl itself. Pearls have been part of human history. They are mentioned in sacred texts such as the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran, as well as in diverse cultures such as the Indian, Chinese, Persian, and Polynesian, and in the most remote corners of seas and lakes around the world. It is the oldest known pearl. The Greeks created a series of fantastic tales about its origin, all related to deities such as Venus and Aphrodite. A story that recurs in various cultures is the belief that pearls are tears of the moon or of the gods, which, upon falling from the sky and reaching the bottom of seas and lakes, were caught by oysters, which guarded them as precious treasures known as drops of light. This same belief appears in historical records of pre-Hispanic America. I invite you to dive with me on this fascinating journey, where we will discover the history, curiosities, and the secrets that this beautiful pearl has kept throughout time. This is La Peregrina, the ultimate tear of the moon. Did you know that this pearl has more than 500 years of history and that its discovery was almost a stroke of luck? Or that it was lost on more than one occasion? Join me as we uncover some fascinating facts about La Peregrina. The story of the La Peregrina pearl begins in the 16th century, a time that some historians call the Age of Pearls. Just when America had been discovered, in the warm waters of the Caribbean Sea between the coasts of Panama and Venezuela, this exceptional jewel appeared. In that region, teeming with enormous oyster beds of the species Pinctada radiata, also known as Pinctada panameana, and later in the Sea of Cortez, it witnessed the appearance of pearls so impressive that for centuries they supplied the Old World with some of the most beautiful gems that have ever existed. The wealthiest families of ancient Europe, such as the Valois, the Medici, the Habsburgs, the Tudors, and the Stuarts, along with many other powerful dynasties, were responsible for the devastation of the Caribbean pearl beds. Driven by ambition and without regard for ecological impact, they harvested these resources to exhaustion. One could say that they killed the goose that laid the golden eggs. In ancient times, pearls were much more valuable than gold and played a role similar to that which this precious metal has today. They were a stable asset, a hedge against inflation, backed monetary reserves, and generated confidence among investors. Additionally, they were considered a safe haven in times of economic crisis or poor financial management, becoming a symbol of stability and wealth. Beyond their financial value, pearls were the most coveted adornment by both men and women during the golden age of the old continent, representing status, luxury, and power. And this is where La Peregrina comes into play, whose story begins at the court of King Philip II of Spain. The history is documented in the logbook of Don Diego de Temes, a conquistador who arrived in the Americas in 1515. According to accounts, the pearl was found by an indigenous slave inside an oyster. Thanks to this find, the slave was freed while his owner received the position of mayor of Panama. The famous conquistador Vasco Núñez de Balboa also had the pearl in his hands before sending it to Spain. Although the exact location of its discovery remains a mystery, we know that it was between the coasts of Panama and the island of Margarita, in what is today Venezuela. What is indisputable is that La Peregrina is considered one of the most beautiful and largest pearls in the world. It has a drop shape with perfect symmetry, its surface has an excellent luster, and its gemological characteristics are a weight of 203.84 grains, 50.96 carats, or 10.2 grams, and a length of 2.55 centimeters. Throughout history, this pearl passed through several generations of the Spanish royalty, from King Ferdinand V and Emperor Charles V to King Philip II, who gifted it to Queen Mary Tudor as a wedding present. It then traveled to Scotland, and after Mary's death in 1558, it returned to Spain with King Philip IV. He wore it on a brooch that he moved across his hats. In fact, there are two very famous paintings by Velázquez in the Prado Museum, where Queens Margaret and Elizabeth of Spain appear with the pearl at the center of the portraits. La Peregrina continued its journey to France when Princess Mary Theresa, daughter of King Philip IV, married King Louis XIV. The pearl remained in France until the Napoleonic era, when Napoleon III gifted it to Hortense de Beauharnais. After her death in Switzerland, the pearl was sold to the Duke of Abercorn, and it remained in the family until 1969. In that same year, 1969, La Peregrina was auctioned in Switzerland and was acquired by none other than Richard Burton, who gifted it to Elizabeth Taylor for her 37th birthday. I get exhausted just telling it. Imagine all the journey this pearl has had over so many centuries. Hence its name, La Peregrina. One of the most iconic images of La Peregrina is that of Elizabeth Taylor. She wore this wondrous jewel not only at her most glamorous events, but also on her stage appearances in New York. In her book, My Love Affair with Jewelry, in the chapter The Case of the Missing Pearl, she narrates, "One afternoon, Elizabeth was in her hotel suite chatting with Richard Burton. As always, she wore the pearl. When she went to touch it again, she realized it was no longer on the chain. It had come loose and fallen to the floor. Unaware, she searched the suite barefoot and on all fours until she saw her Pekingese sugar chewing it. La Peregrina. I found it, and luckily without a scratch," she writes. A happy ending. The last time La Peregrina was heard of was on December 14th, 2011 at Christie's, New York. The necklace featuring the pearl was the star of the auction and reached the highest price ever recorded for a piece combining a pearl, diamonds, and rubies, $11.8 million. Although total sales exceeded 115 million, the buyer remained anonymous. And since then, La Peregrina has not been seen in public. The mystery continues. This was Gems on the Road, the podcast where science, art, and history meet. I'm Diane Benoit. Thank you for joining me on this journey full of brilliance and knowledge. I invite you to keep listening and to share this space with those who also love discovering the magic behind gemstones. Don't forget to share this episode and follow us on our social media channels.